So our podcast is extremely loose. You don't have to wear pants.
Oh,
Yeah. Seriously, go for it. Hi, Alison.
Hi,
Alison.
Matt. There
How are
it is. You have to say it the right way. I'm great.
Hi, Alison.
Fitz, what's happening?
There it is.
They're inviting each other on the podcast that they already have created.
Fitz, do you want to start a podcast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being on my podcast. We can call it...
Neurodivergent. Neurodi.
There it is. I don't think we're going to have any competitors.
It's very weird to be hijacked on your own podcast. I'm gonna jump ship. I'm a neurodi20 virgin fan already. Let's go. Thanks for having us on your podcast, Alan and Fitz.
You're welcome.
Anytime.
Welcome.
What do you want to talk about today?
Fitz, take it away with the talking points we issued out earlier. Go ahead.
Well, this is, in fact, a podcast about D&D and TTRPGs. And how they intersect.
Wait, how D&D and TTRPGs intersect?
Sugar, I messed it up, you guys. That's it. The jig is up.
All right, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
We're here for you.
We got to cancel the podcast. Never mind. I'm pulling out.
We'll take it from here.
Let the professionals do the work.
Well, I guess we should now introduce our esteemed guests.
I'm so excited because we started out knowing that we had one guest, and then we've picked up another one along the way, a guest that everybody should know that listens to this podcast. It is our official Lorekeeper Fitz.
It's me.
Is here with us.
Ooh, there's sound effects.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she has her own sound effect.
But the reason that we're all meeting today is that the three of us, Fitz and Alison and myself, went to GaryCon this year, and we had the privilege of sitting down with a gentleman that we then kind of forced to be on our podcast. He's a YouTuber. He is a former math teacher and coach.
True.
Tell me if I get anything wrong, Alan. And he's building his own TTRPG, and it was a highlight of GaryCon. We've already done that episode, and so we got him on this podcast. So please, everybody, the Dungeon Coach, welcome.
Thanks, guys. I had a blast at GaryCon, and then now here we are again. We just did a video on my channel. Now we're doing this thing on y'all's channel. We should do this every week.
Okay.
Y'all.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't have to ask us twice.
Well, pull our leg.
Yeah.
Oh, we are for sure playing DC20 again.
Yes.
So that's good.
All I wanted to hear. That's it. We can end this now. We got everything I wanted.
So, Alan, we usually start off. We have a special roll table that we start this podcast off with. But before we get too far, I want to give you the chance to talk more about yourself. And I also wanted to mention that the way that I found you is because I just felt like the things that you were saying on your channel were the things that I wanted in our game. From death rules and death to multi-classing and feats and all these things that I feel like are not necessary in 5e necessarily, but I had missed from versions of old, and you were providing them to me in a homebrew 5e style. And then you were like, I'm going to go buck wild and I'm going to build my own system. Tell us more about yourself.
Buckwild's a great description of it. The fast forward journey of all of that was I was a teacher and coach. I coached pole vaulting, which is a very strange sport. Lots of physics, lots of all of that is great. And loved that. And then I came to TTRPGs late. I was a gamer, video games, World of Warcraft, all that kind of stuff. And then my wife was selling clothes at a brewery, and there's a bunch of nerds in the corner, and I was like, you know what? I'm not that big of a nerd. I'm a nerd, but I'm not like D&D. Like, whoa. And then I just like wandered over there because there's nothing else better to do, and kind of was listening in, and it blew my freaking mind what was possible of the outside the box thinking. Somebody was like, yeah, I'm going to grab this guy, I'm going to shapeshift into a bear, and I'm going to throw him off the waterfall. What? Where does it say you can do that? And I was just absolutely floored. So from that moment, literally all I've cared about is TTRPGs. It speaks to me at my core. I was the kid who got pieces of paper and built board games and made up board games out of pieces of paper and forced my family to play it at home. I had a theater background, so the character voices and different things was always like right up my alley. And so I loved it. I tried to convince everyone, theater. I tried to convince everyone I possibly could, which was like 3 people because I have no friends, to come and play.
So
D&D.
we doubled your friend circle with the 3 of us then. Wow.
You absolutely
Amazing.
straight up doubled it. A 1-to-1 double.
I just did math.
I have 6 friends now.
I just can't believe the randomness of the universe that you literally just walked up to a D&D table and that was your life.
Yeah, and now
That's incredible.
This is what I do. Yeah. It's one of the players at the table who was a player was the person who first dungeon mastered for my 3 friends, and he was the dungeon master. So I was like, "Oh, cool, man!" And so we ran it. 3 sessions in, I'm like, "Can I dungeon master?" And he's like, "Sure." And then we've been playing for the last 5 years now. So in multiple different campaigns and stuff. Yeah, has been how since I started, which is not that long, especially if you compare me to other YouTubers or other even the average person in the hobby, maybe even. But I think what that did give me is a very outside the box. I don't have previous editions that I've thought of. I don't have any, I had none of that. So I saw this game and immediately thought of how I could change it. Like as soon as the first time we were playing and somebody went unconscious, came back up and they were fine, I was like, that's bullshit. This is ridiculous. Like, nope. And I'm that guy at the table. Like if y'all ever played regular board games, I'm the guy that proposes rule changes while we're playing, not to benefit me, but just to make a better experience of like, you know what? Actually, I think it should work this way. Or I will read the rules of the board game beforehand, and then I'm the one explaining it, and I'll change the rule. I'll change a rule and not tell anybody, and it's actually I think a better rule, and that's just like the game designer at my core, and then we'll play with that rule and nobody will know the wiser, and then at the end of like, you know what, like this it's supposed to be this, and like, oh, that's lame. I'm like, yeah, well, there we go. So it's just always been in my blood to homebrew things. So of course once I started running with D&D, I started homebrewing, and I had this like binder of all these different rules and stuff, and then my wife told me she was pregnant with her first kid, and I was like, okay, time to start the channel.
Wow.
And so if I had to do it, I had to do it then. And I pulled the trigger on the channel, and the rest is history. So, it's been crazy since then. And I started off, like Matt said, I just homebrewed the game, homebrewed D&D, like different rules, skill challenges, how to do this, how to do that, like Dungeon Master's tips / homebrew. Then it created a book from it with Alcander's Almanac, and then all the OGL debacle hit the fan about 3-4 months after I went full time. So I went full time in the whole YouTube thing, and then OGL comes through, and I was like, great timing. So then I've just been doing nothing but building out a whole game system now, and having the freedom and reins to be released and just make all the changes, and there's the big picture of everything now that's in development, and the alpha should launch in about 2 months, and then hopefully in about a year from now the Kickstarter will be launched and the whole game system will be good to go.
God. All right, okay.
There's the spiel.
That is a beautiful spiel. So Alison and Fitz and I are going to do everything we can to not diagnose you with any neurodivergency. Like, one of the reasons that we were like, go, hey, is that you offhandedly while we were playing said, that's my ADD speaking, which I understand is a it's a thing that people say, but we were like, is he or isn't he? Right? So
One of us.
we are not qualified to diagnose anybody with anything, but there are some things that you have already said to us. Like, I cannot not futz with things that exist. I cannot not add rules or change rules. I cannot. That is actually a trait of ADHD. It is a thing. But we're not going to do that to you. We're not.
Well, I have plenty of undiagnosed neurodivergencies. There's elements of OCD that I've had to overcome back when I was a kid, which I have a crazy story I can tell in that. The ADHD, when I was a teacher, all my kids knew at the board. If anyone talked to me about the Avengers, any sort of pole vaulting or any nerd-based thing, Star Wars, the whole lesson would get derailed for the next 10 minutes. So, because I would just, and then I would just start talking about that. So, very much so, yes, on that. And my crazy story, which I've never ever told anybody, so this is, I guess,
Spill the tea.
Safe space. Safe space.
Is I had so much safe space. Yeah, I'll post it on the internet. Is I had hardcore OCD in some way, where I had this weird thing that lasted into high school, and I finally had to stop it. But anytime a microwave would go off, my feet couldn't be on the ground. I don't know. And I also had this thing I did in threes, like when I drank from a water fountain, I had to sip in multiples of three. Whenever I drank from a water fountain, I'd count, like 3 was my number that I'd count multiple times of. But like whenever I came into the house and the garage door opened, when my mom would like drive in and would press the garage door, I had to get out of the car, in the house, onto the carpet before the garage door shut. Vice versa, I had to get into the car, shut it, and buckle in before the garage door opened. And if the microwave went off, I had to like hold myself up in the island or whatever, and like beep beep beep, put myself back down. All right.
Wow.
So, and I had all the way up into like high school at times I would do that. So yeah, there's the little backstory.
Fitz is our resident. You're our resident OCD specialist. Yeah. So what? Yeah.
I don't know if having it makes you a specialist, but no, it's interesting because compulsions don't make sense oftentimes, and I don't understand how I was not diagnosed, or that people didn't say she obviously has it.
Exactly. What were our parents doing?
Especially when half of my family has it. You know, I'm not going to out specific people, but so many people in my family have it. It is known to run in our family. And it's like the signs are all there. But still, I think one thing people don't realize with OCD is that a lot of compulsions can be mental compulsions. So because our brain chemistry is so personal, even we maybe don't realize that we're doing it. And so someone outside can't diagnose. Something like the microwave dinging. Your parents could obviously see that was happening. You're doing something physical that you can see that's happening. You know, I have a couple of weird ones. Soft surfaces are a huge issue with me, like contamination wise, and that's a more visible one. But a lot of OCD is all up here, and you can end up in these spirals. So. Man, I hear what you're saying with the like having to do things, because once you've done a compulsion, it's hard to not do it again. And once you do it again, then you get into the magic thinking, because our brains are crazy. So yeah, I'm over here listening to you talk about that, and I'm like,
I don't want to get too far down the road without our ADHD 100 table, because then we'll just forget and yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So
of course,
Alan, as the guest, give us a roll.
All right, I have a 5.
All right. If you could make one magic item from any D&D game or session you've played real, what would it be and why?
Dang.
Oh, whoa, interesting. One magic item. Well, now my favorite magic items are always have to do with wild magic.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I feel like I just have to go with that one. Every campaign that I've ran, except for Curse of Strahd, has had some sort of wild magic item that I've given the party early on. So basically something along the lines of there's a box, you look at it, and you get some sort of advantage on your next roll that you can use, almost like a bardic inspiration. But then when you use it, a wild magic surge happens. So that would be kind of the thing I'd do for that. I would have that.
I love it. Right. I know what Fitz's would be. Let's see if I'm right. Is it the Jug of Alchemy?
That is one of, if I see a Jug of Alchemy pop up in a game, anytime. I just get so excited because the uses, it's just so stupid, and you can do so many fun things with it. I think so that is my favorite one, that I just get a jolt of joy when it pops up. But actually my favorite magic item that I've ever had in a game is in our Thursday game with Tay. And partially, I think, because he homebrewed it and crafted it very lovingly. So turns out, because Tay is insane in a very wonderful way, he made mine and one of our other players at the table beat twins, and we didn't know it at the beginning, and we were children of the Raven Queen. Metal as and one of the magic items we found was her mortal elven skull. And it turned out to be a vestige of divergence because we were playing within Exandria. And the things that he had that it could be were incredible. First of all, it was a clapper. So you could wear it like a mask and it would turn on and off of like if you could see it or not. But you could just tell that like he had really looked at our characters and the story and made mechanics that filled in some of the gaps that we were experiencing of like, you know, mine, it was a monk cleric multi-class issues. And so I could only go so far as a cleric and I was missing a few things. So by having this item, he gave it to us that way. Right. And I don't know, there's just something so wonderful about being given an item that your DM lovingly created specifically for your character. Yep. There's such a joy in that.
Well, you made me think of something and you said vestige of divergence. And also just the concept of just your mind and emotions, I feel like is very fitting here. So in my first homebrew campaign, full homebrew everything, and actually a lot of those elements of the world that I made for my first homebrew campaign ever are going to be the campaign setting for DC20. But one of the cool things in that world is the god of that world put tests, and he created items, and each of these items were a test to whoever would find this item. And this item existed on a spectrum of some sort of emotion, and depending on how you interacted with that item, it was a sentient item, and it would gain certain powers slid left to right on that scale. So the first item that my group found was the cloak of fearful flying, and you put it on, and it was afraid. They had to catch it in the first place because it was running away from them, and they had to like catch this flying cloak, and they caught it, and the only way they could tame it is if they ever comforted it. That was like the trigger. They had to comfort the cloak in some way and be like, it's okay. So then one time he pulled it close and he grabbed it like this, and I said, as soon as you grab it like this and hold it tight, the cloak relaxes in your arms.
That's adorable.
And he's like, oh. And then he wasn't able to use it until he like talked to it, and I said, you put it on and you feel afraid. You feel in the fear subsides and the cloak goes limp. So I connected this emotion to it, and they had to like coax it into being, you know, not afraid but confident, you know, and it was on this spectrum of that way. So as it got more and more confident, it could gain you know, the ability to fly, and the user could fly, etc. But then the player put it in a bag, wrapped it up, put it in a dark bag, and it went into a very scary place. Never talked to it once during the entire mini adventure arc, and next time he looked in his bag, it was gone. And it was absolutely gone, and it was actually gone, like blinked out of existence, gone, because the god took it back, and he's like, "Okay, you have failed this test," and then pulled it back, and then that's I could go on about that.
I love that.
So yeah,
I love that.
Wild.
Nice.
What is it like to go full time? What is it like to have a life and to be, you know, to be seemingly happy in that life too, and then to just walk up in a bar to a bunch of people and sitting in a corner playing a game, boom, everything changes, and then maybe even someone that might suspect that they are neurodivergent in some ways. What is it like to go full time as a content creator in that way? It's like, because the thing. We think about this all the time because we have this web development design company, and that's a big part of what we do. But like ever since the pandemic, similarly, we are trying so hard to push it to this world that we love. And with ADHD, we work so much harder and more creatively on the things that we really love. And we love our clients. I'm not saying that, but it is far far easier to wake up in the morning and go, let's design a world, than it is to So inspire us. What is that of?
I mean,
no pressure.
No pressure.
I mean, the whole thing was the hardest thing that I've ever done. Easily the hardest thing I've ever done. At one point in time, I was a full-time teacher and coach, which, you know, it's essentially another job. If you know anything about school system and coaching and how many hours coaches work, and, you know, track meets and volleyball tournaments and all this other kind of stuff, right? That plus the trying to grow the YouTube channel and working on writing the book Alexander's Almanac, with a newborn kid and a wife, all of that, all the same time, right? So That's crazy. Just absolutely crazy. I definitely pushed it too far. So I would first of all recommend not to go too crazy. And I didn't have in my head, I had never like pushed that hard for something and had that much on my plate, I guess. So with everything else, much less, the family side of stuff and all of that, I definitely broke myself and got into like a rough spot mentally. And so all of that type of stuff is like the gloom and doom I try and warn people about. So I know you just said to inspire people.
Inspire us to not do that.
Massive failure on that part. So I would say that was the caution I always tell people. Anytime it's like, oh, I'm a full-time YouTuber, yay, like it is awesome now, and there's so many things that I like wake up and I come into this room and I make up a game that people are gonna play. So another thing, I guess, to paint the full picture of my weird brain, my dad is on the autism spectrum. At one point it was Asperger's, but then I guess now that's kind of blended and changed into something else. So now I very much see myself in very similar ways to him and different things like that I have with as far as it comes to processing things and understanding things and being too literal with things sometimes and hyper fixating on one thing. And my friends know that I'm like, I change hobbies all the time and all this kind of stuff. And then D&D came along and I stuck with it, and it's been the longest standing hobby that I've ever had. I've done magic tricks, I've done all these I've done art, I've done all these different things I've gone down rabbit holes for, but this has been the one. The one thing that I did realize in the middle of all of that is having a real job and then having this YouTube thing, I started to kind of resent my real job. Like I was like, man, like I loved coaching pole vault. I loved, like being able to mentor high school kids and as a teacher and mentor and coach and all that kind of stuff. Like I loved all that stuff, right? But as I started doing this YouTube thing, I started to resent it because I didn't have time. So I lost time with my family, and I could, so it was easy to blame that job that I was trying to shift over to full time. So there was a spot right before I went to full time that was probably the hardest time. Right before I went to full time was when I had the most on my plate. So I paint that negative picture to warn, but then also hopefully know that there is something on the other side of that. But yeah, there was lots of things that I've done now to try and help myself establish rails on myself, because in school you have a principal, there's a head coach, there's all these people that tell you what to do at certain times. There's 7 periods of the day and you go to each one. It's like it's very structured, and I have time. I have a conference period, it's from here to here, and I script videos during this time. So I had this natural inlaid rails on my life, even though there's so much going on. I had pockets. Right now I have from here to here.
Right.
Being alone in a room, it's very easy to get distracted and start going down rabbit holes of YouTube videos, or wanting to do certain things more, or I have nobody to tell me what to do, which is cool, but also scary that I am the one that tells me what I have to do and have to be able to, be on myself about it. So I've had to put a lot of different scaffoldings on all of that to try and keep myself accountable and have a system to be able to work within. I don't know if that was a good answer to your question, but there's the real deal.
I just have the weirdest meta moment of we're sitting here talking about finding our guardrails and finding our processes, right? And not allowing those distractions, as Matt and I sit here and talk to one of our distractions. That's just...
Oh, me?
That is a pretty meta moment. I was, that's so funny, because my brain went to about a year ago where you did have that announcement of like, I'm gonna go for this, I'm gonna do this, and I should have been working at the time I was watching that video. Anyway,
I don't want to derail, but I picked up on something interesting that you said during that, which, because I saw Matt and AK's head both start going like this when you said it and nodding aggressively, which was, this is the first hobby that you've stuck with. And I wonder, what is it about D&D or TTRPGs that can suck in the neurodivergent people who normally, if it was any other hobby, would have been 6 other down the line?
Yeah.
My friends are still waiting for this phase to end. Like they just have always assumed that this was, because I'm the newest comer. This was my pandemic hobby, and so I think my friends were like, "Okay, that's the thing Alison's picked up."
Right.
Yeah, this will be done.
Should be done anytime now.
Sorry, guys.
We worry every time that we gear up to have so last year was Alison's and my big birthdays, and we played D&D for like 16 hours a day for 4 days straight, all together. And then
In a castle that we rented.
Which was super fun. That was fun. And then at GaryCon, similarly, I went in and I had butterflies because I was like, is this going to be the end of my love for role-playing games? I don't know, because it's so intense, and this is like the first right. I am diving in. I've paid money to be a card-carrying nerd, and I worry about every time. And so far, knock on wood, it has only increased. But yeah, what did you think about it for you?
So, I think there's the creativity that it has is literally infinite.
Yep.
Literally infinite. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that have like, even within the same niche or maybe another niche, they've said like, oh, I don't know about running out of video ideas. I'm like, I have a spreadsheet of over 300. Like I could just talk about this for forever, right? And just the capability from player side of the table, from the Dungeon Master side of the table, to just create and go in these interesting different directions to be a character. And maybe there's even at a psychological level, maybe there's some interesting way of getting in a different person's brain and having like that kind of experience could also possibly be a thing. That thought just came to me of playing different characters with different values, perspectives, or playing a character that's focused, playing a character that's you could just temporarily experience. That would be another cool facet there. But much less the world building or coming up with ideas and collaborating with a dungeon master to like tell a story together and talk about it in the meantime, and then you play a different campaign or even session to session. There's never been a repetitive session where the same thing happens. So I think in that beautiful way, even just that, not even creating content, not even dungeon mastering, but just the playing that next, you don't know you can't expect what it is. And for me, from a creative side of things, from like a job standpoint, like creating Alcander's Almanac was at a time where I had the most amount of pressure on me, and that was a lot. When the OGL thing happened and all of this stuff is going on, and once I started to write DC-20, I have never been more excited. I am at the all-time high of hype. I mean, I get excited to pull up my Notion sheet and just start typing. What am I going to do? Oh, armor today. We're going to go on armor. And start building out that. Like, I get so excited. So I have no sight in the future of like, I think I'm over it. I think this is, what do I do next? Do you want to do knitting? Knitting? Should I do a knitting YouTube channel? What do we do?
Was it just me? I knew from the very first session, sometime in March, April of 2020, that this was it for me. Like I had found like the next big thing.
Right.
And I normally I'm like, this is fun. And I don't see, my mom has always famously said that I don't see past the tip of my nose. Did you guys feel that way, or did you just think this might be another phase until the next one came along?
Interesting.
It definitely was. It definitely was a rock gathering moss as it rolls down a hill. What is that? Is that
sure, snowball.
Whatever. Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think you combine snowballs and algae.
Two great tastes. It tastes great together. So yeah, for me it was I think though that what really kicked it into high gear for me was becoming a game master. And Alan, AK and I have different types of ADHD. She is on the impulsive side. I'm on the inattentive side, is what they. And so for the inattentive side, it really is the constant need for that well of change and newness. I went through an improv class here in Chicago, and I was always drawn to that and the kind of what is going to be new today and changing rules and all that stuff. It's not as much for Alison. So it's funny, AK, that you say you got to a point and it was like click. And for me, it was I got to this point. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. And then when I kind of took. When I took the game over from our beautiful dungeon master, may he rest in non-dungeon masterness. When I took that over, that's when I just kind of went like, oh my gosh. That's when I was bitten. And all of those other parts, I think if I stayed a player, it wouldn't necessarily be as much for me. Yeah. Matt,
we've already established that we are twin brothers separated at birth in whatever way. And this further hits on that is I, as a player, I was like, okay, interesting. I can do whatever I want. It's super cool. But I felt like I was constantly like I wanted to start off dungeon mastering. I wanted to start off, but I was like, I need to play in order to know what's going on. So while I was reading the books and while I was doing stuff, I was starting to build my world and build the thing and read all the things. And I literally told the dungeon master, I was like, I fully want to do the dungeon. He's like, yeah, that's fine. Just let me know when you're ready. And it only took 3 sessions. In a third session, I was like, all right. We were in the dead middle of a dungeon. We were in the middle of a dungeon. I was like, can we
just switched?
No offense, but like, can we, so, cause I just saw the potential so much. And if I was a player, I don't think I would have all of the same in the same way that Matt just said. Like, it is the dungeon master thing for me of a good example to my former dungeon master who's now a player, and it wouldn't have seen the light without him, right? But there's a moment where like we were in the dungeon and he would like draw out the rooms as we were going through the dungeon. I was like, oh man, that's inefficient. I feel like you need to draw the maps beforehand. If you draw the maps beforehand, then you could reveal it. Oh, and then if you draw the maps beforehand, you could get black pieces of paper to put over it, and then you can reveal it and pull it off as you go. Or you have the whole map down and only compartment. So I'm just like, the whole time, right? And then we had a fight with like 5 zombies, and the last zombie was like a bigger zombie. I was like, okay, but what if the zombies exploded if they died? And when they exploded, what if some of the corrosion could get onto the other zombies? And now, if a zombie was in the range of another zombie's explosion, now it had like a layer of poison damage on its attacks, and so now they add poison damage to it. Oh my god, and that I was just constantly mind blown at the potential as a dungeon master. I have to.
Well, as forever players who have a hard time finding DMs, like we salute y'all. We love this because I DM out of necessity, not out of
and
love.
You're good at it. You're good at it.
Yeah, same. I DM my family game, but if it wasn't for the fact that they were my family, I would have stopped 3 years ago. There's no way.
But there are very few things in my life that I knew from the moment that like my life was forever changed for that thing. And that first Saturday that I played Lavinia, like I knew. Just like I knew the first time I ever got on a stage that I really, really liked being there. But yeah.
Lavinia.
I played the Star Wars RPG Force and Destiny with my family first, and then we came to the dark side of 5e, and we were enjoying it. See what I did there? It was just part of game night. Like we played other board games and like took turns and things like that. And it really wasn't until that first game with that crew specifically, I think we played like 6 hours. Like, I think combine the fact that we were all, cabin fever. I mean, I'm in New York, so when New York shut down, it was terrifying, and we were, shuttered in our tiny, tiny apartments, right? Right. So I'm going stir crazy, and we play this game for like 6 hours, and I remember ending the call and just being so sad it was over, as if we couldn't get enough after 6 hours. And that was when I knew there was something different, because I had already been playing for a year or two, maybe 3, and had not experienced that until you get into a group that just twists it a little bit more. Because playing with my family is fun, but we were not looking at it for more than just entertainment on a Saturday. We were looking at it as a lifeline, and something about that changed the stakes and really upped the obsession.
I remember like counting the seconds until our second game, because the first one, and I remember that feeling of, as somebody who is very impulsive, who does not sit still for anything, I don't do any one thing at a time ever. I am always fiddling with something as I sit and do one other thing. The fact that I only wanted to do one thing at a time boggled my mind so much.
For sure.
Yeah. You touched on, we've all touched on this, but I would love to hear a little bit about, like, what tools do you now use now that you don't have the principal saying, well, here's your hour for this and here's your hour for this. How do you now kind of learn to do, like, focus on making those hours productive, and both in just building this new system, which is so gorgeous, but also you also have to prep for games, you also have to build a world, you also have to read about Strahd and his hijinks.
Right. So I, in the same way that I just was like I have a very, I love efficiency. I've always said I live my life by the code of efficiency. And so optimization, I love stuff like that. So back when I was teaching, during all of the heptuple overlaps, right, I prioritized things that took the most amount of focus and attention, things I could only do when I'm really dialed in, and I can't multitask and do. So those things were like script writing. I couldn't write a script if there's a bunch of kids in the room and they're all yapping. I can't write a script during that time. I can't write Al Kanner's Almanac. I can't create during that time. I just know that about myself well enough. Now, I did do stuff like this. This is one of the things I've been accidentally playing with. These are little rubber earpods, right? I don't listen to music. I just, in general, I don't like music. I don't know.
No.
Sorry. I know that's a thing. But like, these are just rubber earplugs. I would wear these all the time teaching. I had these in almost all the time. I would put my earbuds in and I would think, and it helped me think. So I had optimized every moment of my day to try and be like, whenever I'm walking from here to there, I'm going to think about the next script idea and brainstorm, because I know then when I get to here, I can do this, and I try and like chain together things like that, and I know what I'm doing next and trying to think about that on the way. But those earbuds help. Now those have evolved into this, which are full-blown shot, like shooting range, sound canceling entirely headphones. If I am working on DC20, I have these on every single time. I have to, because it just, if I hear a hum of my air conditioner here, I lose focus and I can't.
So you work best in utter silence.
Absolute silence. Yeah. Absolute silence. Yeah. I can't. Like, I've never understood the people that like play music and do that. I would go crazy. I'd jump out of my skin. But as far as systems to do is I have a to-do list, and this is like two different versions of it. But the first iteration was I had to-do list based on that focus thing. Things I can do with absolute focus that I have to be in my office for, or things I can multitask and do, or things I can literally do in the car or whatever. And I organized my to-do list based on the style of life pocket that it fit in, and I would have it there. So I use Trello. Trello is an amazing app on the phone, computer, and it has boards. And on those boards, you can put tasks, right? So I'd have, super focused, semi-focused, whatever focused. And I would then sort each task in those things and then rank them in priority. So if I am in my office and I can work, I go to that one, I do that task. And then it would be very obvious, and it like made it mindless. Because a lot of times thinking and making decisions is inefficient, even like thinking about what to eat for lunch. If I eat the same thing for lunch every day, I don't have to think about it. So the biggest tip I could give for that helped me the most is I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on my Trello boards now, and then I have everything I need to get done sorted by soonness of how soon it needs to get done. So I have the eventuals, the who cares if I even do them. I don't even know if I'm going to do them or not. And then it progressively works. There's 3 columns of it, to where the third column being these, I need to get these done pretty soon. And then so Sunday night before I go to bed, I look at the next Monday and I'm like, what 6 things am I going to do? And I put them in my board in that order. I have to do them in that order. I cannot switch the order. And if I finish those 6, then I can go to the bucket and pull some more and try and knock out more or whatever if I want to. And I put the headphones on. I set a lovely little visual timer that you have as well, right? I set that up, and I go, and I don't think about anything else. I turn my phone off. I turn my phone to silent. I close off Discord, and I just go. And then I try and get to all the rest of the other things. So that's kind of my the scaffolding that I've put on for myself that has worked for me.
Beautiful.
So, there's the end of that.
I love it.
I could literally see the gears turning in Matt's sweet little head. So I'm already wanting to try to kind of create a board like what you described, where I can see was 6 arbitrary, or is there some secret in 6 things?
6 is definitely arbitrary, as far as it's based off of some research that I did not do myself. Great. So I was like, sweet, let's try it. Been working. And 6 has been great as far as that goes. And there's been times where like I'll only have 5, and I'm like, man, I really only have 5, and then I'll just, on that day, I 100% put DC20 game development 2 hours, or maybe I'll make it 3, and so then I'm just really gonna hit it hard then, and then you get into a flow and all that kind of stuff. So then after that's done, now I only have 4 things, and I'm done, right?
So you've come up with DC20 the game, and it sounds like we're also coming up with DC20 the kind of personal task management system too. Task management system.
And I wanted to spend time talking about DC20, but then I had an idea. What if we just send everybody your way, because I do want to say this about this game that you're building is for people, and I think the people that listen to this podcast, they're either listening because they have ADHD or they're listening maybe because they play D&D or TTRPGs. I wanted to just say that you are building something that is so refreshing and unique and fun.
Yeah.
The reason that it has been inspiring to meet you as a person is that you are building this, and I feel like we do have some similarities. We do have some things in common, and it's just it's so exciting to see somebody that you can really relate to out there just kicking ass at this.
Well, it was great to have y'all play the game that I've worked on really for years, because like I said, when I started this whole thing, I started coming up with ideas, and I had ideas that were too out there, as all homebrewers do. You go too far, and that's one of the things that I heavily recommend for homebrew people to do is make homebrew rules that are too broken, make homebrew rules that suck, find those boundaries around so that you can hit them and know that that's the line there. When I shared DC20 with you guys, it was so cool to see all of those thoughts of being alone in a room, just ideas.
Yep.
Right. What if this? Oh, what about that? And then to see that at the table and to see y'all, play the game that I had put so much into alone, to be fun at the table. And I felt like we were friends at the end of it. Yeah, for real. I was like, man, we should have this, I would love to have an online campaign that we run. That'd be so cool, because you guys are so awesome, and y'all were awesome, and then y'all's characters were awesome, and y'all as players were awesome. Across the board, 10 out of 10.
Thank you.
And I hope this is the first of many sessions of us staring each other through a screen and talking nerdy to each other. Alan, will you tell our listeners where they can find you as we wrap things up? I'm
mainly on, thedungeoncoach.com has everything on there as far as the YouTube channel, all the PDFs I've made. And that's Alkener's Almanac, which is the expansion to 5th editions. The PDF book is on there. And then all the stuff we've been talking about with DC20. DC20 is fully funded by my patrons. They are what is keeping this possible for me to be able to come in here and just spend time working on a game system. So the patrons have been the huge support there. So if you're interested in that is where the alpha is going to be available, is on patreon.com/thedungeoncoach for DC20 stuff. And
you get a lot for your money. I'll say that.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
I appreciate that.
Woohoo! Thank you, Dungeon Coach.
We never know how to end this. We just kind of keep talking until the very end.
We just start giggling and making weird noises.
And that's being that. I'm trying to think of a sign-off phrase.
Yeah.
Wait.
I don't want to give y'all the sign-off phrase, because that's going to be me and Fitz's channel sign-off phrase.
Yes.
So
That's right.
We can't steal it.
I can't tell y'all what that would be.
Alan, don't tell them.
What is it?
Okay. I was thinking, stay neurospicy.
Stay neurospicy.
Oh. Stay neurospicy, and don't roll a 1 on a death save.
Stay neurospicy and don't roll death saves.
There it is. But don't roll death saves. Thank you for listening and being a part of our ADHd20 and larger Bivens Brothers creative community. If you're looking for more, we have a hoppin' Discord that a couple of us affectionately call the Honeycomb Kill Room. Look for the join link in the show notes.
We talk about all kinds of things. TTRPGs and ADHD for sure, but also TV, comics, video games, movies, theater, our pets, and really anything else on our minds. Come be nerds with us and all our friends.
We also have a Patreon. Every day, work on a Bivens Brothers original is senselessly ignored for the sake of billable hours. And those podcasts, videos, and live streams are crying out for help.
For just $2 a month, you too can be a Bivens Brothers angel, ensuring this content is seen and heard. By supporting our Patreon, you're helping more Bivens Brothers originals like this very podcast see the clear light of day.
The best way you can help us, though, is just to share this cast with the people you think will like it.
Thank you for being a pal. To us as people, to ADHd20 the podcast, and to the greater Bivens Brothers creative commonwealth of nerds.